to our presentation. As you can see on the screen, our research title is The Effect of COVID-19 Pandemic on a Senior High Student's Mental Health, Integrated City Science National High School, Integrated Senior High School. This study aims to identify the effect of COVID-19 pandemic to the mental health of the students in Tagaytay City Science National High School, Integrated Senior High School. This study explores the different factors and elements that greatly affect the students' academic performance during the pandemic. 1. What is the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age and gender? 2. Are the students having dilemma in the midst of this pandemic? 3. What are the effects of pandemic to the mental health of the students? 4. How are the participants affected by the difficulty they are facing with? 5. What are the perceived solutions for the mental health status for the respondents? This study will only focus and cover the senior high school of Tagaytay City Science National High School, Integrated Senior High School, academic year 2021 to 2022. Tagaytay City Science National High School, Integrated Senior High School. This study can bring awareness to the school and can stand as a basis on how to cope up with this dilemma in the future. Students, this study can help the students on how to cope up with the stress and dilemma. Teachers, this study can serve as the basis for the teachers to develop teaching approaches that may greatly help the students in coping with their mental health concern. Future researchers, this study will benefit the future researchers who will be conducting study about the effects of pandemic on senior high school mental health. Humanities and Social Sciences, HUMSS. The humanities and social sciences are the study of human behavior and interaction in social, cultural, environmental, economic, and political contexts. Dilemma, situation in which a difficult choice has to be made between two or more alternatives, especially equally unreasonable ones. Mental health. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Anxiety. Anxiety is an emotion characterized by feelings of tension, worried thoughts, and physical changes like increased blood pressure. Depression. Depression, also known as major depressive disorder of clinical depression, is a mood illness that causes chronic sorrow or loss of interest. It has an impact on how you feel, think, behave, and can result in a number of emotional and physical issues.
Null hypothesis. The researcher found out there is no significant relationship between the COVID-19 pandemic on the mental health of the senior high school in Tagaytay City Science National High School, Integrated Senior High School. Local study. According to Ami Dawel, 2020 state that epidemic does affect the psychological aspect of the student. It also involved anxiety and depression to certain individual, leading to a more or increasing problem. Hence, Dawel suggested to provide a more comprehensive information for an individual to equip towards the facing pandemic. According to Michael L.T., the 2019 coronavirus illness pandemic poses a threat to society's mental health. According to Aspect Discern, this study looked at the prevalence of mental disorders and the factors that contribute to the Philippines' psychological impact. As long as mental health of Filipinos is neglected, a mental health epidemic can only be expected in the coming years. This pandemic had a major impact on the people's mental health in the various nations, creating similar reactions in terms of emotion and anxieties at the public level. As stated by Leonardo Villani, 2021, the impact of COVID-19 on pandemic on psychological well-being was studied in this study. This pandemic had a major impact on the people's mental health in various nations, creating similar reactions in terms of emotions and anxieties at the public level. As stated as Leonard Leonardo Villani, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on psychological well-being was studied in this study. According to Rowald, Rowald Alibudbud or Alibudbud 2021, who conducted a study titled Online Learning and Mental Health During the COVID-19 Pandemic, Filipinos Perspective. Online learning can have serious mental health consequences for students, such as increased anxiety. COVID-19 educational institutions switched from face-to-face communication to curb the virus spread. In the Philippines, children had higher risk of poor mental health than adults, owing to their transitions to online learning modes during the, the epidemic. According to Albino Gino M. Bautista and Elizabeth S. Manuel 2020, the COVID the study will provide critical mental health information for students, which will be of tremendous help to the respondents in understanding themselves. With the support of researchers' advice, it can also help people become more aware of mental health, psychological health. The suggestion will help them deal with difficult to understand situations with their children's mental health concerns. The outcomes of the study will aid them in their efforts to promote mental health and prevent disorders.
Where psychological support is provided to patients and healthcare personnel, Jackie Xiong 2020 believes that the mental health of the general populace demands special attention. The goal of the thematic review is to compile the existing literature on COVID-19 impact on the psychological outcomes in the general population and its related risk factor. Drisola Gonzalez et al. 2020 claimed that anxiety continues to be the most common problem. 62.7% of 82,685 respondents among students who complete the Counseling Center assessment of psychological symptoms. According to the 2019 annual report of the Center of Collegiate Mental Health, anxiety can affect students' motivation, concentration, and social interaction, all of which are critical factors for the students to succeed in higher education. According to Aisejo et al. 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a more negative impact on students from less fortunate household students. Academic life has been disrupted by decrease in a family income, limited access to digital resources, and the high cost of internet connectivity. Furthermore, 1.5 billion pupils are currently deprived of basic education around the world. The 2020, which has a negative psychological influence on their health. Changes in daily routine, such as a lack of outdoor activity, alternate sleeping patterns, and social isolation, have also had an impact on student mental health. Seven item Generalized Anxiety Disorder Scales GAD-7 is the diagnostic instrument for anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and social phobia. Gao et al. 2020.
Research design. The research design that the researchers used was descriptive research design. It is one of the research design that provides accurate information on the current situation or event happening in the society. Under the classification of descriptive research design that the researchers used was the survey research design, which they use survey questionnaire in order to get information relevant to the research study. Sampling procedure. Simple random procedure is the sampling procedure that the researchers use in selecting their respondents for their study. Simple random sampling is the best type of selecting respondent which only choose sample from their population. Sampling procedure. The total numbers of our respondents by section. Jose Rizal has the total number of 49 respondents. Andres Bonifacio has the total number of 50 respondents. Apolinario Mabini has the total number of 63 respondents. Isaac Tolentino has the total number of 63 respondents. And lastly, Manuel Quezon has the total number of 69 respondents, all in all total of 294 respondents. Solving formula. N equals 294, margin of error equals 5, computation, N equals N over 1 plus NE squared. N equals 294 over 1 plus 294 times 0.25. N equals 294 over 1.7425. N equals 169. Sampling procedure and the total number of our respondents by section. Jose Rizal has the total number of 49. Andres Bonifacio has the total number of 50. Apolinario Mabini has the total number of 63. Isaac Tolentino has the total number of 63. And lastly, Manuel Quezon has the total number of 69 respondents. And using the previous formula, we also get the total number of our respondent. It is N equals 169.
A research instrument is a tool that is used to collect, measure, and evaluate data from the participants in a study. Questionnaire, interviews, observations, and readings are examples of these. The researchers made letter to the respondent a survey questionnaire about the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on senior high school students' mental health in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School. The researchers went to the 5 sections under Humestrand. They asked the master list of each section as the population, and they removed the absentees. They read and explained the letter and the context of the questionnaire. They distributed the papers containing the sets of questions along with the token of appreciation, specifically candy since the respondents allotted time in answering. The conduction of the whole survey was done. As the table 1 shows that 3 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 5 answered agree, 1 answered neutral, 0 answered strongly disagree, and 1 answered disagree. That COVID-19 is one of the reasons why we are suffering right now. Being a student is difficult no matter what. And the coronavirus disease is making it even harder, with school closures and canceled events and also to ourselves. Mental illness can affect students' motivation, concentration, and social interactions, crucial factors that students to succeed in higher education.
Frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of students' mental health. As Table 2 shows that 7 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 3 answered agree, 0 answered neutral, and 0 answered strongly disagree, and 0 answered disagree. That the pandemic affects the students' mental health poorly in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School. Due to COVID-19 situation, these undergraduate students suffer a lot from stress that affected their mental health status. So during this such situation, emotional support need to be provided by educational stakeholders. Frequency and percentage of the respondents in terms of fear and worry for themselves and for their loved ones. As Table 3 shows that 5 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 3 answered agree, 2 answered disagree, and 0 answered strongly disagree, and neutral. Due to the existing virus pandemic, students feel fear and worry for themselves and for their loved ones. This result is supported by Leonardo Villani, since despite the fact that the pandemic had a significant influence on people's mental health in numerous nations, it caused similar reactions in terms of emotions and concern at the general level. Many students may experience emotions just like dread and worry. Once as a result of these various pandemics, which may have an impact of their mental health. Frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of students who are studying at home or having difficulty in concentration.
As the table 4 shows, 5 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 5 answered agree, 0 answered neutral, strongly disagree, and disagree. This shows that the pandemic that causes the online learning at home affects the students of Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School in terms of concentration. As described by Leonardo Villani, this pandemic had a huge impact on the mental health of the people in many countries, and that impact causes the problems with concentration in studying.
Table 5 frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of having depressive thoughts such as insecurities, concerns that academic performance, hopelessness, uncertainty, loneliness, and overthinking. As Table 5 shows that 6 out of 10 respondents answer strongly agree, 3 answers agree, 0 answer neutral, 0 answer strongly disagree, and 1 answer disagree. The COVID-19 crisis affects the students' mental health in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School, according to the studies, due to a long-lasting pandemic situation and numerous measures such as lockdown and stay-at-home orders. COVID-19 pandemic brings negative impact on higher education. Table 6 frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of students' academic performance. As Table 6 shows that 6 out of 10 respondents answer strongly agree, 3 answer agree, 1 answer neutral, and 0 answer strongly disagree and disagree. That the COVID-19 affects the students' academic performance in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School, as described by Giselle Tas 2020. Studies on mental health and academic performance have been conducted throughout the world. Thus, the study aims to assess the students' mental health amidst the new normal of education, employing 21 item depression, anxiety, stress scale, or the ASS 21. Concerning their academic performance, the study's finding shows that almost more than half of the respondents suffered from moderate to extremely severe levels of depression, stress, and anxiety. Table 7 frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of pandemic affects the students' mental health poorly. As Table 7 shows that 5 out of 10 respondents answer strongly agree, 2 answers agree, 1 answer neutral, 0 answer strongly agree, and 2 answer disagree. That the pandemics affect the student mental health poorly in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School. This result is supported by Giselle Tas 2020. Studies on the mental health and academic performances have been conducted throughout the world. The study's findings showed that almost more than half of the respondents suffered from moderate to extremely severe levels of depression, stress, and anxiety.
Table 8 is the frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of students who are studying at home. As the Table 8 shows that 6 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 2 of them answered agree, 1 of them answered neutral, and none of them answered strongly disagree, and 1 answered disagree that the COVID-19 pandemic affects the mental illness of students' motivation, concentration, and social distraction. According to the studies, due to a long-lasting pandemic situation and numerous measures such as lockdown and stay-at-home orders, COVID-19 pandemic brings negative impacts to the students as well as the unwanted noise coming inside and outside. Table 9 is the frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of effect to the students' academic performance. As Table 9 shows that 4 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 5 of them answered agree, 1 answered disagree, and none of them answered strongly disagree and neutral, that the absence of face-to-face classes badly affects the students' academic performance in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School. This result is supported by Jackie Shong of 2020 that COVID-19 is one of the most
reason why we are suffering right now. Being a student is difficult no matter what, and coronavirus disease is making it even harder. Many students are missing out on some biggest moments on their lives as well as everyday moments, like participating in class, having some school fairs, and some school activities. Table 10 is the frequency and percentage distribution of the respondents in terms of the academic performance of the student's mental health. As Table 10 shows that 5 out of 10 respondents answered strongly agree, 3 of them answered agree, 2 answered neutral, and none of them answered strongly disagree and disagree. As described by Results of 2020, studies on mental health and academic performance have been conducted throughout the world. Thus, this study aims to assess the students' mental health amidst the new normal of education, employing the 21-item depression, anxiety, stress scale, or DAS 21 concerning their academic performance. The study findings showed that almost more than half of the respondents suffered from moderate to extremely severe levels of depression, stress, and anxiety.
Based from the findings, as discussed previously, can be summarized as follows. Profile of the respondents. The result of the study showed that the majority of the humanities and social sciences students in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School are females between 16 to 19 years old. Factors of the students' mental health. The frequency and percentage distribution showed that among factors affecting students' mental health, fear of committing mistakes is the greatest factor, followed by shyness and lack of confidence, lack of motivation, and anxiety. Effects of facing dilemma amidst this pandemic. The frequency and percentage distribution showed that decrease in active participation in class is the most effect of their mental health. The researchers concluded that the greatest to the least factors, the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on senior high students' mental health in Tagaytay City Science National High School Integrated Senior High School are the following: fear of mistakes, lack of confidence, lack of motivation, and anxiety, and therefore conclude that necessary recommendations and actions should be given to improve the confidence of the students. The environment should create a comfortable environment by strengthening the confidence of the students. Talk about or express your feelings regularly. Keep active and eat well. Spend time with friends, loved ones, and people you trust. Relax and enjoy your hobbies. Set realistic goals. Once again, we are the Group 5 and thank you for listening.